Well, Glasgow certainly gave its answer to Suella Braverman and her cynical accusation, that those engaged in the march to achieve a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip are somehow involved in hate marches. And that answer, loud and clear, was... Thousands of Glaswegians took to the streets in Glasgow, demanding an immediate ceasefire. It started at midday with a takeover of Glasgow Central Station concourse. There can be no doubt that the British establishment is fully behind the USA and Israel when it comes to the current conflict in Gaza. The protesters in Glasgow today were determined to confront two pillars of the British establishment which are clearly complicit in this genocide. Firstly, as we all know, the BBC is the official voice of the British establishment. The BBC will swing into full propaganda mode against anything that threatens the interests of the British establishment, and is very much in that British establishment's interest to maintain the support for Israel and the USA. And the BBC's output fully reflects that agenda. The second pillar of the British establishment the protesters wanted to confront was the British arms industry, currently supplying the Israelis with the means to inflict war crimes on a civilian population. After Glasgow Central Station, the protesters headed off to the BBC Scotland's headquarters in Glasgow.
BBC! 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 BBC!
Outside the BBC, there were some powerful speeches.
We have seen civilians in Gaza forcibly moved from their homes with no guarantee of safety on its own. This is a war crime. It is clear that Israel is breaking international law.
There was some limited heckling of Greta Clark due to Keir Starmer's abysmal handling of the whole Gaza crisis. Now, personally, I think people criticising Keir Starmer's stance from within the Labour Party should be supported rather than heckled. There was a live link to a Palestinian journalist reporting the situation from the ground.
I personally lost my home on the third day of this war. Right now, almost all of Gaza has been destroyed. Over 10,000 people have been killed, 70% of them women and children.
Before leaving BBC Scotland, there was a moving ceremony where child-sized shrouds were placed on the steps of the BBC building to highlight the BBC's complete failure to report the true horrors, the true war crimes that are taking place in Gaza. The protesters then left on the second leg of their march with some unexpected support along the way. A relatively short walk from BBC Scotland is one of the arms manufacturers currently supplying Israel with the means to inflict slaughter on the innocents in Gaza.
We rallied at the BBC against weapons of mass deception, and now we're marching towards British aerospace on Govan Road to protest and try and bring an end to these weapons of mass destruction.
What was particularly striking about this day of action in Glasgow was that it went beyond a large crowd of people simply chanting "Free Gaza, Free Gaza." What the protesters wanted to do was identify those institutions of the British state that are particularly and identifiably complicit in the massacre that's taking place there. And there can be no doubt that the BBC and British Aerospace fall into that category. Please support Left Wing Voices on social media by liking this video and subscribing to the channel.